do it live. It.
All right, Tony White. It's been 30 years.
How you been, man?
I've been good.
Awesome.
I mean, time is such a fascinating thing, and I think back decades, and as you get to our age, decades are more common. It's like now we're talking 3 decades ago,
Right.
and
It's a long time ago,
I
man.
know. And one before I get into Paralysis and seeing you play with Paralysis in New Orleans 30 years ago. I
Hmm.
was thinking about something before this interview and us, and I was thinking about, my last interview with Renee Perez from Flesh Parade, who played at that show as well. Like when our age group, when you got hooked into death metal in the early 90s, I don't think it's left any of us.
Mm-mm. I'm obsessed with it
Yeah.
still, man.
Yeah. Same. Same. That's unique, Um,
It just took a whole. I've been a metalhead since I was 5 years old. I had three Kiss records and a Fisher Price record player,
mhm,
and I've just always been into it was heavy metal up till about 12 or 13, Dokken and Rat.
mhm.
Then when I heard Master of Puppets, that opened the floodgates to Slayer, Anthrax. And then when I heard Death Leprosy, that's pretty much the first, what I consider the death metal singing style.
Mhm.
And that was like, as soon as I heard that, it was just, let's find the heaviest bands wherever they are. Went on a mission.
Okay, that's awesome. I love where we had it already because I love the origin story of all of our stories. And so
You know,
leprosy. So what was next? What would you say was the next death metal sort of record?
like all around that time, let's see, like Suffocation, Human Waste,
Mm-hmm.
EP, even before the Effigy of the Forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
This is like around 89 or 90.
Okay.
Immolation. Oh, and of course the earache stuff. That is what it was. It was as soon as the earache came out, Morbid Angel, Godflesh, even though they're not death metal, but just everything on earache was just mind blowing. So and me and Ben were super tight back then, and I'd hang out at his house all the time, and we would just listen to everything in the whole earache catalog.
Yeah, Ben Falgout for our audience. Is a
Yeah.
singer for Goat Horse, Soilent Green, Paralysis.
It was just such a new music back then. It was just taking everybody by storm. It just could not believe that metal could be that heavy and that cool.
There's something about it that I'm just convinced that we all share. I've heard of certain frequencies, and I'm getting really into healing frequencies and stuff.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
That I think there's something that we have similar, that frequency of death metal and metal in general and the tone. There's something
Hmm.
about it that's uplifting to us, where other people see it as
Right.
the opposite.
Right. And you can hear like 1 second of something, and
Mhm.
if you're familiar with it, you're like, I know who that is.
Yeah,
Because you just
exactly.
know the tone of it so well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna pull out my Brutal Truth record, Extreme Conditions Demand Extreme Responses, because that's
Yeah, I had that.
Ben made a cassette of that record for me, and that changed that made me go from like Faith No More and
Hmm.
Era, Metallica, Master of Puppets and stuff. But that when I heard the death metal vocal, that's what made it even more different to me. And I was really attracted to the death metal vocal. And I found it interesting that death, like Renee mentioned obituary.
Obituary, that was another big one.
Yeah,
Slowly Rot, that took everybody by storm too.
definitely. I
He's
love
such a unique singer. That guy, nobody sounds like him. John Tardy. So
no, there are a lot of people that try to sound like him though. I heard one this weekend. I listened to this, and I probably shouldn't say this. I might cut this out, but there's a band called Fugitive,
hmm.
and there's a band called they're like a newer thrash band. A singer just died. Why can't I remember their name? I keep wanting to say Municipal Waste, but that's not them.
I'm wearing the jogger pants of them right now, Municipal
Oh
Waste.
yeah, I saw them. I saw them. Awesome. Yeah, I saw them here in
Yeah, they're awesome
Memphis.
band, man. I
Yeah.
love them, dude. And the Iron Reagan little side band they do.
Hmm.
Total 80s crossover thrash. I love that too,
I
man.
love that too. Yeah, the band I was trying to think of is Power Trip.
They
Um,
were awesome. Yeah, the singer died, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So those guys, I guess the singer died 2 or 3 years ago. They got
Mm-hmm.
together, and some of the guys are in a band called Fugitive. I think the guitar player. So
Oh, okay.
they did a
Never
surprise
heard of
set
them.
with the Fugitive singer.
Mm-hmm.
And they did Swing of the Axe, and it was great. Look it up, man. The crowd is just going nuts. It's at this really cool venue. It's a really neat video. I'll send it to you.
And that
But
sucks for Power Trip. They were blowing the hell up. And then, of course,
I
right in their
know.
peak, he dies, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so this guy is the singer of Fugitive. He sang for like they did a 5 song set. So then after
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this was cool. So I looked into this band Fugitive and I listened to it and I listened to their last release, man. And he sounds like John Tardy. Like, I mean, there's just no doubt. That's my opinion. That's my
Right.
opinion. I mean, I think Riley Gale did do a lot of sound a lot like John Tardy. And John Tardy, I mean, to these guys credits, they do credit Obituary and John
Well, that's
Tardy as an
cool. Maybe it's like
influence.
a tribute almost thing in a weird way.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just I was just listening to Fugitive for the first time based on this experience of figuring learning about him, and I heard this.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I want to hear what they do in the studio, and I listened to their release, and the vocals to me I was like, oh man, that's John Tardy to a T. But anyway, I find it interesting because I was attracted to like Chuck, like you said. I put like him and Chuck from Death in the same sort of sound. It's like they did a higher register Death Girdle scream growl.
Yeah.
And I was attracted to Chris Barnes and Kevin
Yeah.
Sharp, the guttural lows. Like that to me is
Hmm.
I love the tone, the guitar tone of Obituary.
That's their main thing, I think. Trevor Perez guitar tone
Yes.
is just so thick, you know. I think that is their main thing about them that's just incredible, you know. So a brutal truth to me is like one of the first kind of grindcore
I agree.
type bands, you
I
know,
agree.
with the fast drum beat and a little more kind of hardcore blitzkrieg type of just Flesh Parade assault, you know, where it has that
Yeah.
hardcore styling mixed in, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
To me, it's the first grindcore that I heard that I can say that to this day I listen to, and I'm like, that's
well,
grindcore.
the earache stuff, remember Terrorizer and Napalm, I guess they're literally Napalm's pretty much one of the first,
Yeah.
besides like those other bands
As
from
far as what
England that were the same time, you know.
I also like Alan West's guitar tone.
Yeah, from Obituary.
I know Jack Owen's back with 6 Feet Under and
That's
Chris
cool.
Barnes.
Yeah. I met Chris Barnes in Florida at Tampa when I played with Soilent Green, and he came out to see our show and everything. He was a pretty cool guy. And I've been a major Cannibal Corpse fan, you know, since Eating Back to Life. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
amazing band. They got a brand new album just came out September. I didn't even know about
Yeah.
the second one with Eric Rutan.
Yep.
I haven't even heard it yet. I'm gonna have to go check it out, man.
It's ferocious. It's
It's
from
Chaos something. I forgot the
Yeah,
name of it.
yeah. I heard the 2 singles that they released from it, and it reminds me of just early '90s death metal. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
it's good, man. It's real good.
I
It's
had the first one with Eric Rutan from last year, Violence,
mhm.
Unimagined, I think, and that was I just couldn't believe they put an album out that fast.
Yeah,
Like
man.
1 year, they got a new album. That's awesome, man. That
Hmm.
dude's a workhorse, Eric Rutan. Like I stayed at his house for a month when we did the Confrontation album right here.
Yeah,
And
I
I
want to
got to
ask you about
know
that.
him really well, and he's just totally professional dude, man. You know, I could see him pushing them to be like, let's put another album out. You know, I'm sure it's a great thing for them.
Yeah,
That dude
yeah.
is super on his game, man.
Do you know that who was their former guitar player? Why can't I remember his name right now? he
Well, he's
replaced.
actually plays an exhorter
That's what
now.
I was about to bring up. Yeah, and that
Yep,
is awesome.
yep,
I love
that
it.
is awesome.
I love that last Exhorder record.
Me too. More in the
The
Southern
Southern
Skies, I
Skies.
think.
Yeah,
A
that's
great
great.
album,
Oh
dude. Very
man,
great.
it sounds really fucking killer.
Vinny LaBella's untouchable, man. That's one of my favorite guitar
Me
players, man.
too.
That's another one of my main influences when I
Okay.
was in high school.
Awesome.
Exhorder. Like I had the Slaughter in the Vatican demo.
Mm-hmm.
I came into them after Get Rude demo, but I got into them on that demo
Mm-hmm.
before the album was out and everything, and that was the top. Exhorder, Slaughter in the Vatican. That demo, even they agree, is heavier than the Road Racer album.
Mm-hmm.
The mix, and that's what they wanted was that production.
Yeah.
So if you ask them, they'll say, "Yep, the demo was where it was at, man."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Back to the beginning, not only do we 30 years like death metal and metal in general, extreme metal hasn't left us, and there's sort of this frequency that we all get from it in a positive
Mm-hmm.
way that we're still playing it. Like the
Every
bands that
day.
I was seeing in New Orleans, Flesh Parade, Paralysis. I mean, whether consistently over the last 30 years or one time every 5 years, whatever it is, everyone's
Mm-hmm.
still playing and everyone's still doing pretty extreme metal. And I think
Right.
that's fascinating to
And New
me.
Orleans has its own sound always, it's just crazy how unique it is, man. Like nothing like it in the world, really. And it is a very influential scene.
It really is. And even in Paralysis, Patrons of the Dark, which you're on, this was 1993, right? This came out
Two,
92.
1992.
Okay,
Yeah.
1992. I even hear the New Orleans in it, even though it's standard death metal. But
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, our drummer, Alex Johnson, he was heavily influenced by the Bourbon Street drummers. Like his
Mm,
parents would bring him down there as a kid.
mm-hmm.
And he has that New Orleans swing thing totally ingrained in him. And he got me into that sound more like the New Orleans groove. And like, that's definitely a big part of it. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why it has the New Orleans twist to it. Probably a lot to do with his drumming, I think.
There's also something about the guitar tones of New Orleans metal that I hear.
Yeah.
I always like I've had this discussion with Randy Jackson of Zebra. I've had it with Kyle Thomas of Exhorder. Um and we always talk about what we're talking about here, but there's certainly the New Orleans influence, and I've heard the meters come up a lot in the
Hmm.
jazz, especially from the drummer's aspect of it.
Oh, yeah.
Todd from Flesh Parade, jazz background, jazz drummer. Guy Gelso, Zebra, jazz background, jazz drummer.
Look what city we're in. You can't help but be influenced by it. That's what it is, man.
That, and I think Black Sabbath. I think the two formed in the water, and I like to joke the Dixie beer, and just being you can't.
Also, it's an occultic city. You know what I
It
mean? Like
is.
New Orleans is a totally like almost a witchcraft feel to it. So
It's
Black Sabbath is
yeah.
definitely just in the atmosphere here. It's an amazing city to live in for music and pretty damn cool.
The darkness though of the sound of New Orleans and how it comes through in music from Soilent Green to another band you're in,
Hmm.
Exhorder, um, Acid Bath, I Hate God,
Down, Crowbar, Goat Whore.
Goat Whore. Wasn't there a band called Tungsten that had a drum machine?
Yeah. Tungsten was from Chalmette.
Okay.
And yeah, I think they had a drum machine. They were signed. They had some albums out, a couple
Yeah,
albums.
they were on
Yeah, they were
Pavement.
yeah,
With
Pavement Records, yeah.
yeah, with Crowbar. Yeah, this is interesting that y'all were on Grindcore Records.
That's what
That
Crowbar was on the first album.
Oh, is that
Remember?
right? Okay.
Obedience Through Suffering. Yeah, their
Yeah, I don't
first.
have
We were
okay.
both signed to grindcore.
Yeah,
So
so that was the first time I saw the term grindcore because of Paralysis and the
yeah.
record stuff because I saw y'all at that show 1993 August. I put the flyer on the screen. I remember I was fascinated with death metal because of Ben and because of him
Hmm.
making me cassettes and I had the flyer because of the show and he gave it to me and it was like my last night in New Orleans before I came to college and moved to Memphis.
I don't remember too much about it. I just remember playing on the West Bank, and it was a great show. And I always loved playing with Flesh Parade for sure, man.
Hmm.
Awesome fucking band, man.
I don't know how your memory is, but my memory is I have stills. Like I could see
Hmm.
stills. I could see where I was standing. I remember the stage. I remember Flash Parade and I remember Paralysis. And I remember
Hmm.
Ben coming out in he had all black and he had like a hood and stuff on and he had corpse paint.
Yeah, he was doing the corpse paint for a little while. That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. I loved it. I mean, I've never been to a metal show like that before.
He's always been very theatrical of a performer, just the way he is anyway. His arms are like 9 feet long. He's always
Yeah.
like, he just looks like a freaking demon, you know what I mean? So,
Tell
yeah,
me
that was in
something.
Chicago, that
Tell,
picture up in Chicago.
tell me something. How the
Hmm.
fuck does Ben still look that way? How is it? He hasn't
He's a
changed
healthy
much.
guy, dude. He never really partied much. So, definitely works out. Healthy person, man.
The son of a bitch looks like not much different than that.
Not at all. It is weird. I think we just stay young through the metal too, because it's just who we are. Is that to now? It's like we're the same freaking person, man. So that's another thing.
That's very true. And New Orleans people tend to tend to be full of life, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I'm interested in the t-shirts, and that's something I wanted to talk about. Um,
I love t-shirts.
yeah, I
All
love the fact. Let me start with Ben since we're on Ben, the amorphous shirt.
right.
I always thought that was interesting because, Ben was in Paralysis. He's super hardcore.
Yeah.
Um, great, great death metal vocalist. And then he'd be making you tapes of things like he was into things that were ethereal, like Cathedral and
Oh yeah.
Amorphous and Paradise Lost, My Dying
Oh yeah.
Bride, stuff that wasn't just Brutal Truth, but these other bands.
Like whenever we'd go on road trips, it was Paradise Lost, Shades of God was like one of our main driving tapes. It's
I
just we
love.
always lighter stuff and then mix it in with the heavier stuff. And
Hmm.
not that Paradise Lost is light or by any means, but I'm just saying we like every kind of music. From even I listen to everything, but
Yeah.
it's like just mix it up or it gets boring just to listen to only one thing over and over. So, and I like all the deep, conceptual, ethereal type music myself too.
Oh no, I agree. I just know when bands take photos, you really think a lot about what shirt you're gonna wear.
I wore it in Pale
I
Nazarene.
know, and I wanted to
So,
talk about that
and that was when they just came out. That's like their demo.
because of Metal Maniacs magazine. They used to have this thing from this record company called JL America. Have you heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
You have.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I've
awesome.
heard of JL America. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were offering this cassette and it's this sampler, volume one. And this has uh Impale Nazarene on it. The 16th song. But all these bands I fell in love with this compilation. Deteriorate, Morpheus Descents. Have you ever heard of Killing Addiction?
Mm-hmm. Kind of
From Florida?
grindcore.
Yes, from Florida.
Yeah.
There's a song on here, the record called Omega Factor. And I just reached out to those guys to see if I could interview one of them. So who's the guy with the Graveyard Rodeo shirt? Is that the bass player?
That's Ian Foley. That me and him went to Ben Franklin High School together when it was
Okay.
on Carrollton, St. Charles, and we became friends. He had a vest on, Metallica back patch, and I had a Testament shirt on, I think.
Oh, nice. That's
Just like,
fun.
here we go. And we became instant friends at school. And then we played together in Paralysis and that other band, Resin,
Hmm.
Stoner Desert Rock type band. And we were just best friends back then. And yeah, we're both big Graveyard Rodeo fans, all of us, you know. So
I used to
yeah, I had that
have
shirt too.
I used to have a CD that was more of a compilation. I don't know who
Hmm.
put it out. Want to say one of the major metal labels. I don't remember, but I don't. It got
I
stolen.
almost played in them. They asked me to play, but I was busy with Paralysis. It was around 93. They asked me to join them. I was real good friends with Perry, the singer. He passed away like a few years ago. They
Mm,
were just awesome, man. They had a horror thing on stage. It was like they'd bring out a casket.
mm-hmm.
You couldn't get more New Orleans than that. And he
No.
always wore like corpse paint before that was even a thing. And they were like scary. Like you would see them on there and you were kind of like intimidated, especially when you're a young 15, 16-year old. You're like, this shit is incredibly scary.
It, is it true that Pepper Keenan was in Graveyard Rodeo?
Yep. Yep.
Mm,
That's the same time as demo day. He had hair to his knees back then. I used to see him all over the place uptown. Yeah, he was in Graveyard for a pretty good while, man.
mm.
True story.
So, what about you? You still play?
I'm still playing, but not in a band at the moment. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get this new project called Bile Funeral. That's the name I have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be super heavy death metal, satanic type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like just brutal, simplistic to the point, you know. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
just writing right now. I got
Cool.
a drummer, but still hasn't got off the ground yet, you know, in the writing phase right now.
Sure. That's awesome though. I mean, if you're creating, that's the thing that people like us artists have to do is just always be creating,
Right.
always
Have
be
a channel,
writing.
you know.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. Even if you just the only person who hears it is yourself in your car stereo, you still got to be
Right.
writing riffs and recording them. And
Got to be playing, and I've always got to be supporting too. Like I'm
yeah,
always buying. I just got 10 CDs from Hell's Headbangers in like 2 days ago. Like I'm always supporting and just keep on plugging away at the metal scene and just I love it, you know. So I'll do this shit till I'm fucking 75, dude. Long hair, everything.
how do you like you when you're buying these CDs? Where are you hearing of them?
Okay, well, one good way is Bandcamp, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's the way all the artists use that now, and
Okay.
they're tied to it. So when you buy a CD, it's directly from the artist.
Mm.
So you're supporting them. All the merch is through them. That's a great way to do it. That's an app. I recommend everybody get
Yeah.
on there. And you can also see your friends' collections of all their music. It goes
Mm.
to their library, and you
Wow.
can just browse everything and see what you like, you know? And
That's
of course
cool.
Spotify, but I'm not a person that'll ever just stream stuff. I stream it to see what I like and then I buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe in just streaming because they get pennies for that. You know what I mean? Go out and buy the album, a shirt, whatever, banner.
I love buying CDs and stuff. I get
You
worried
got to,
that
man.
I get worried that physical media is just going to go away completely.
Well, look at vinyl now. There's such a resurgence in that. I don't think it will, man, because people are hardcore into that now. So I think it's really never going to go away, man. I think it's going to get even more popular probably for the true people.
I would be surprised if CDs go away though. I don't think
They
records will go
might,
away. I don't think
yeah,
records will.
vinyl will stay and CDs could go away. You're right.
Yeah, which makes me feel at some point I don't even own a record player. I just have them as collectibles. But like this
I
Jerky
have a
Boys
little
too.
stupid record player this big with an auxiliary. I need to get a whole setup. I still just get CDs.
Yeah.
You know, that's my main thing that I buy. So I have like probably 800 CDs. So. a lot.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, what shirt are you wearing?
This is Coffins. They're from Japan.
Okay, I'll have to check them
Jason
out.
Pilgrim and Renee, they played with them at a festival and they love them and they're a great band. They got about 10 LPs out.
I'll check them out.
Yeah, they're awesome, dude. They have a New Orleans sound. They wear I Hate God shirts sometimes, the dudes
Okay,
in Coffin.
yeah,
So they're heavily influenced by New Orleans. They're
interesting.
awesome, dude.
That's cool. I want to
Yeah,
talk about Soilent Green and your time in Soilent Green.
yeah,
Um, Soilent Green is, all the New Orleans bands we've mentioned today are unique and have their own sound and a similar sound all together as one. But so it's hard to put one above the rest. But for me, Soilent Green is probably my favorite, um, most unique, I feel.
yeah.
Um,
There's just so many different styles covered in one band, you know?
yeah, I mean, it's got parts that are as fast and as technical and as hard as death metal. And then it's got parts that are just that I hate God sort of bluesy jazz.
Yeah. They
It's
got
new.
straight up blues. It's like
Yeah,
almost
it's New
simple
Orleans.
blues, you know?
It's just New Orleans. So it's so New Orleans. And I mean, going back to like Pussy Soul.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I love that album. A lot of those songs are the Glenn Rambo era, the first singer, and I was really good friends with him. He died in Katrina,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of the music he did with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I just think those songs are pure Soylent Green. Like that's the sound I like the most by them.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I ran into Ben sometime after I saw you guys at at the Paralysis show, somewhere in the French Quarter, and he came up to me and he handed me the Soilent Green cassette demo that was for this one with him on it. It sounds
Hmm.
freaking good,
I
man.
know, I remember that.
Yeah.
Golfers Just Love Punishment. That
Yeah.
song title always sticks out to me.
Yeah, and like the artwork he had on it, it was like Microsoft Paint.
Hmm.
It's great though. It's great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
legendary demo.
But I do like the other stuff that came after it.
Oh, it evolved for sure. I think every album has its own thing going, but I just prefer Pussy Soul. It's to me is just a perfect album, and I love all their albums, but each one definitely offers something different.
Yeah, Soylent has a legacy, each record for sure adds to that overall legacy. And you're part of that legacy. Did you know, like when you go on YouTube and you look up Leaves of Three, the thumbnail is you?
Yeah, it's me in the green Dickie shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Where was that filmed?
In Atlanta. I forgot where, but it was the first day of a 2-month tour for that
Okay.
album Confrontation, and we did the video on the first day.
Okay.
And it was like a 60-day run in America, just doing circles.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's something to look back. It's really cool that you have your two albums right above your head. Paralysis and Soylent Green,
Yeah,
Confrontation and Paralysis, Patrons of the Dark. That's a legacy in itself.
yeah. I don't have the discography of Ben and all them, but I'm proud of both of these albums, man. They are New Orleans staples.
Absolutely. And I just got the CD in the mail. People can get it from Head Split Records. I'll put it on the screen and in the description.
Awesome, dude.
There's this compact disc Facebook page. And people take pictures of their new CDs and put it on there, and it's not metal specific.
Hmm.
And I put this on there, and there's been some thumbs ups and some comments, and I
Oh,
mean,
I get a lot. I'm the moderator on the Paralysis Facebook page, and we have fans in so many different countries. Like it has a more in like South America and like everywhere. It's just there are some people. It's still, they think it's still going on and everything, but it's like no, we're broke up, but they're just still big fans. It's more now than ever because it's
Yeah,
been reissued, so now it's getting out there more. So yeah, it's really still got a lot of interest.
that's great. You can't replicate early stuff. I think that's part of it to me. Like the Killing Addiction I mentioned before, Omega Factor. I'm a big
Hmm.
fan of that. I'm a big fan of Patrons of the Dark because it was, I mean, it was on a tail end of something that already started with some of the bands that we mentioned before, Obituary and Death and stuff, but it wasn't that much further after that stuff came out. I mean, um, you guys were the first ones that were really influenced by that stuff, and I think it's unique
Yeah.
going back and listening to early '90s CDs of death metal. They're so good. They're so good. They're so real.
Can you hear the Dark Throne influence in there, like on Gates Reflected, that song? Like that's when Blaze
Yeah,
in the Northern Sky came out. And
I
we
can.
were like, man, we love this shit. So we definitely put a little black metal in there too, which I think gives it an original edge, being brutal death metal with the little black metal twist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not straight death metal for sure. And that's what always I like about New Orleans bands because you can't say they're one thing. They're
Right.
always two things at least. Yeah.
If not way more.
Hmm.
You're right about that, man.
And I did notice this with Exhorder. We talked about it with Kyle and Randy with Zebra. Um, I feel like Renee and Flesh Parade were more popular now and have more. Like Kyle said, based on social media numbers, Exhorder is doing better now than it's ever done before in the history of Exhorder.
Oh
Based on
yeah.
social media numbers. And I see people signing up for Flesh Parade's Facebook page. Like there's a heartbeat there.
Well, the young generation too now, there's all these kids recognize what the real good, true shit is, and it's like a
Hmm.
whole nother generation now
Hmm.
getting into the real stuff again instead of like them dudes that do this,
Yeah.
like this, screamo kids or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Now
Yeah.
it's getting back to the real kids. They got the jean jackets back on and the
Hmm.
heart of metal. It's going all over again. So that's awesome to me, man.
We're very fortunate, and it's because of our age too. Like the reason that is because we were like, 92, 93, we were what, 19, 20, 21. We were just ripe and going out and seeing shows and buying CDs, and music was our life back then. And
So many good bands at once, man.
everything from Cannibal Corpse and Brutal Truth to Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and everything in
I like that
between.
album. Yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
mean everything in between I was into, Pearl Jam, all that stuff.
Me
Faith
too.
No More. There was such a mix of stuff, and they were all
Yeah.
coming through New Orleans too, because I remember
Oh
going to all
yeah.
the shows and seeing all
Me
these
too. Like New
bands.
Orleans Music Hall and the
Yes.
Municipal. Like I saw the Chili Peppers with Smashing Pumpkin, Jane's Addiction there, and all that shit. I mean, it was just awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was a good time back then. That was a good time.
Experimental. That's the word you got to say. Everybody was just trying shit out, and a lot of it was sticking, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Tony, it's been fun. It's been a thrill. It's so cool that like I said before, I'm so fascinated that we're all still sort of connected through, a recording that happened 30 years ago.
Right.
And we're still talking about it today. That's fascinating in its own right. And how do people get a hold of that record, Patrons of the Dark, or a CD?
It's in different distros like Harmonic Productions. They have them in the distro, and then the Head Split Records that it's on, you can get it from them, headsplitrecords.com.
Okay.
And they had banners and t-shirts, long sleeves and stuff. I don't know if they're still in stock, but they might be. So
Well, I'm glad it's out because you know, they weren't easy to find before they reissued. So it's
no,
great.
they're like $150 on eBay.
Yeah.
It's hard to get. This is that label, Head Split Records too.
Cool.
So,
Well, I'm glad Head Split Records does that, and I'm so stoked to have it in my collection again. And it's actually remastered
yeah, they
with
brought the guitars up a
guitars,
lot. Yeah, I think it sounds way better.
which is
Yeah.
great.
I didn't like the old mix. We were always disappointed with it because we wanted it a guitar heavier album, almost like Righteous Pig. That
Mm-hmm.
was like one of our main influences. And when we heard it, we weren't there to mix and master. We weren't even there for the mix. Like we just recorded and then we left Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were disappointed in it. But now I'm really happy with the guitars now. So
That's awesome. I'm
took 30 years, but yeah, here we go. We got it.
It's never too late. Never too late.
Never too late,
It's
man.
great. It's great that they did it and they put it out and I'm glad that they brought out the guitars too.
Definitely.
I love the fact that they kept everything for as far as I can remember, just about everything is identical to the original CD. Um,
Yeah, the back and everything.
yeah, and the liner
There's even
notes.
a lyric on there on the original mix, the
Mm,
grindcore release on Torso. There's a part where Ben goes, "Institutionalized." It's like these highs. They
mm.
didn't even put that on the grindcore version. They totally left it off. And we were like, and on this new one, the guy got it on there for us. So now those highs are on there.
Oh wow.
That's something that always pissed me off on there, and that dude did it, man. So kudos to him, man.
I can't wait to hear what else you're gonna be doing soon.
Yeah, keep that name Vile Funeral in your mind, and yeah, it should be coming out with something soon. I already got offers to do some splits or whatever, so we might be like a couple songs on a split with Ruin or some other band. So, and this is another band I wanted to plug real
Okay,
quick, Abysmal Lord from New Orleans.
great.
And a lot of people know him, but I mean, it's just something I love, and it's one of the new generations of New Orleans. Well, Grant's in it. He's almost my age, but the other guy's young, and he writes all the stuff pretty much. So they're young and they're freaking awesome, dude. Abysmal Lord. Everybody look out for them.
I will. I'll put them
That's
on
my
the
little
screen.
plug, man.
There's another band I heard from New Orleans that I tell you, we were talking about how we receive music and like the YouTube algorithm is very important to somehow reach me. It's how I discover a lot of bands is YouTube
Mm-hmm.
algorithm. They'll notice what I listen to and they'll. So I discovered a band called Brat. Have you heard of them from New Orleans?
Yeah, from New Orleans. Yeah, female singer.
Yeah, they seem pretty
Yeah,
cool. I
they're
like it.
touring all over the place, bro. I think they toured with the Crow Mag.
It's their sound is interesting. It's a very
Yeah, it's
stripped
cool, man.
down but simple drum, but it has elements of everything that we like in it. And
They're
it's
blowing up right now, man. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that's great. How do we follow you? We follow the paralysis
Just on
page.
Facebook, go to Facebook Paralysis. You'll see the logo, and then Tony White on Facebook. That's
Okay.
just my two main hubs. So yeah, hit me up, man.
All right, that's what we'll do. Everyone's gonna follow paralysis and Tony White. So we'll be up to date on the goings ons of your new creations and any distros or merch for
Yep, it'll have
paralysis.
all that on the Paralysis, all the merch updates will always be on there. So check it out, man.
Yeah, and let's look to the future. Cheers to Vile Funeral. Cheers to Tony
Cheers
White.
to Nas,
Cheers to
and
me.
thanks for getting me on your podcast, bro. It was very fun, man.
Awesome.
Take it easy, brother.